All right, so we are going to move into Chapter 2, which Chapter 2 starts on page 85. So right here, okay, this is all about fractions, decimals, and percents. All right, so we're going to start with Lesson 1, which is on page 89. Okay, so this is all about decimals and fractions. Okay, so the whole goal is here we're going to be working how to change decimals into fractions and fractions into decimals, back and forth. But we're going to start with the real world link right here. So the instruments below show the part of the students in the school orchestra that play each type of instrument. So it says brass is 0.25. Okay, in word form you would actually write this out as 25 hundredths. And I can't spell, sorry. So 25 hundredths. Alright, now to turn that into a fraction, since it's hundredths, it goes 25 over 100. Okay, that's why you have to start using the proper terms, because it actually makes it easier. When you say 25 hundredths, you know in a fraction it goes over 100. Whereas you say 0.25, that doesn't mean anything to us. Now percussion, okay, is 0.15. Well, that is actually read as 15 hundredths. Okay, now since it's hundredths, it's going to be 15 over 100. Okay, so same thing for strings. 0.31, well, that's 31 hundredths. Okay, so 31 over 100. Alright, and the last one, woodwind. Okay, that's 0.29. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. This is not as zoomed in as I thought it would be. Okay, so now we have woodwind, which is 0.29. Well, that's 29 hundredths, which is 29 over 100. Okay, so that's how these work. Alright, that's how they're read. That's how you're supposed to read them. That's place value. And you've talked about place value since you were in kindergarten, or even before then. Okay, so on the next page, on page 90, we're going to talk about writing decimals as fractions in mixed numbers. Okay, first off, decimals like 25 hundredths, 15 hundredths, 31 hundredths, and 29 hundredths can be written as fractions with denominators of 10, 100, 1000, and so on. Any numbers that can be written as a fraction is a rational number. Okay, so irrational means they can't be written as a fraction. Rational numbers means they can be written as a fraction. So decimals like 3 and 25 hundredths, 26 and 82 hundredths, and 125 and 54 hundredths can be written as a mixed number in simplest form. Okay, so first off, we're going to start with writing each decimal as a fraction in simplest form. So example number 1, we have 0.6. That is read as 6 tenths. Because if you look at place value here, which they've already set up for you, it's after the decimal. So anything after the decimal is tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths, so on and so on forever. Now if you go left of the decimal, which is greater than a decimal, you have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, so on and so on forever. So if this is 6 tenths, we know it goes 6 over 10. This can be simplified, reduced. Okay, we can divide a 2 out of both of these. So it's going to be 3/5, and that's your final answer. So all we're working with today is changing a decimal into a fraction. So the next one, example number 2. Okay, we have 45 hundredths. So that's going to be 45 over 100. If you need to write out the place value box every time, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just going to make you better at place value, and in the long run, you're not going to need it anymore. So, but let's get back to this. Can this be simplified? Yes. So we're going to divide a 5 out. So you get 9 over 20. Okay, so that is in simplest form. Your final answer is 9/20, 9 over 20. Okay, now this one, we have 375 thousandths. So 3/10, 7/100, and then the 5 goes in the thousands. So since it's thousandths, it goes over 1,000. That's why I'm saying you need to get used to this place value and how you correctly read these, because this is tenths, this is hundredths, this is thousandths. It tells you what it goes over in a fraction by the place value. Since this is in the tenths position, it goes over a 10. Since this is in the hundredths position, it goes over 100. Since this is in the thousandths position, it goes over 1,000. And then when you simplify, you're going to divide out 125 of both of these, and you get 3/8. Okay, let's do some more like this. So let's jump over a couple pages to page 93. Okay, we're going to start with number 1. Okay, so that is read as 5/10. It's also read as 1/2 because it's half of 1. So the good thing is we know that goes 5 over 10, and we can divide a 5 out because we want it in simplest form. Right here in the direction, write each decimal as a fraction in simplest form. If you do not put it in simplest form, it will not be correct. It has to be in simplest form. So once we divide that out, 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2, so 1/2. Okay, let's do number 3. Okay, this is read as 33 hundredths. So once you read it, it tells you what it goes over. So 33 over 100. Okay, now we gotta look and see if we can divide anything out. If there's a chance that you can't divide anything out, you just leave it there. That's simplest form. So 33 over 100, because you can't divide 100 by 3. This is not divisible by 2, 5, 10, anything like that. So there's nothing that you can divide out that this is going to be simplified. So the answer is 33 over 100. Okay, and then we'll finish up with number 4. So 875 thousandths. So since it's in the thousandths, it goes over 1,000. And we're going to divide out by 125 again. And you get 7/8, and that's your final answer. The ones that are circled are the ones that are simplified all the way out. Sometimes you won't be able to, like number 3, but if you can, you have to simplify, otherwise it will be incorrect. So now that we've done those, let's go back to page 90, and I want you guys to do, well, maybe, let me turn this. I want you guys to do A, B, and C down here. A, B, and C. So 0.8, 0.28, 0.125. But I want you to read it the correct way. I'm not going to tell you how it is, because that way, once you figure out how to read these, 0.8, the real terms, then you will be able to put them in the fractions. So A, B, and C, you guys are just turning them into fractions in simplest form. So pause the video and go ahead and complete these. Now that you're back, let's go ahead and do A, B, and C together. Okay, so this is 8/10. So 8 over 10. Okay, these are both divisible by 2. So you get 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. You can't go any further than that, so your final answer is 4/5. Now, letter B, we have 28 hundredths. So that means 28 over 100. Okay, both of these are divisible by 2. You can do bigger numbers as well. Like this one, actually, we could do 4 if we want. You can do whatever numbers you want as long as you simplify all the way to where you can't go any further. That 4/5, we couldn't go any further, so we quit. Now, 28 divided by 4, that's 7. 100 divided by 4, that's 25. Well, 7 and 25, you can't do anything with, so that's your final answer, 7/25. When you can't go any further on the simplifying, you are officially done. Okay, now the next one is 125 thousandths. So 125 over 1,000. Okay, both of these are divisible by 125. But they're also divisible by 5, by 25. You can do a bunch of different numbers. It just matters at the very end. So here we get 1, and then we get 8. 1/8. All right, so that's how you change a decimal into a fraction. Now, example number 4 on the next page. It's just a story problem. It doesn't change anything. We're still doing the same thing. Okay, we're turning this into a decimal or a fraction. So they want you. It says it states the average length of a conch shell is 9 85 inches. 9.85 inches. Express 9.85 as a mixed number in simplest form. Well, the good thing is this 9 is before the decimal. So that means it's a whole number. It has nothing to do with the fraction. So that goes in front of your fraction. Now, the 85, it's read as 85 hundredths. So that goes in a fraction over 100. So whenever you see a 9.85 or any number that's in front of the decimal, that automatically just goes to your answer as the whole number. It has nothing to do with this part. It has nothing to do with the fraction. Whatever's in front of that decimal means it's a whole number, and it just goes straight to your answer. So then we need to simplify because they want it in simplest form. So we're going to divide it out, and we get 17 over 20. So it's going to be read as 9 17 twentieths. Okay, so let's do one more like that. So on page 92, we're going to do number 3. Okay, 2 75 hundredths. So like I said, this 2 right here is a whole number, so it automatically just goes to your answer. So 2 is our whole number. Now this 0.75, 75 hundredths, it goes into our fraction. So it's going to be 75 over 100. Now this can be simplified by dividing a 25 out. So you get 3/4. Well, you can't go any further than that, so you're done. So 2 3/4 is your final answer. So once again, just remember that whole number has nothing to do with your fraction. It's like giving you a free part of your answer. It just goes straight to your answer, and then you're done once you simplify the fraction part out. Now, I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to go back and do on page 91, letter D. Okay? So pause the video now, work on this, and then come back and we'll go through it together. Alright, now that you're back, it says it takes approximately 4.65 quarts of milk to make a pound of cheese. Express this amount as a mixed number in simplest form. So first off, we know that 4 is our whole number, so that goes straight to our answer. Now this is 65 hundredths. Okay, so 65 hundredths, we're going to put that over 100. Now both of these are divisible by 5, so I'm going to divide this out, and you get 4 and 13 twentieths. And don't forget the label because it's a real life problem, quarts. Okay, so 4 and 13 twentieths quarts. Alright, so you see the 4 never changed, it goes straight to your answer. The only thing that changes is this fraction here because you have to simplify it. Alright, so that's going from a decimal to a fraction or a mixed number. Now we're going to switch gears and go back the other way. We're going to start with a fraction or a mixed number and turn it into a decimal. Okay, so there's 2 ways of doing this. Method number 1, if you get a denominator that can turn into a 10, 100, or 1,000, it makes things a lot easier because we're talking about place value, tenths, hundreds, thousands. If you can get the denominator, the bottom, to be a 10, 100, or 1,000 by multiplying, then you are fine. You can do it that way. Or you have to do method 2 where you divide it out. And there's nothing wrong with either method. It's totally up to you on what you guys want to do. So 9/12, if you do it the equivalent fraction way where you turn 12 into 100, okay, you're going to have to divide it down to 3 and then change it again. Or you just go ahead and divide it out. Not the numerator, so you do 9 divided by 12. But Mr. Withrow, that doesn't work. 12 doesn't go in a 9. Exactly. That's why you have to add your decimal after the 9 and annex a 0. That's what it's called. Annex a 0. So we're adding a 0 though, annexing it. Okay, now we got to look at how many times 12 goes into 90. Not just 9, 90. Well, that's 7 times. That doesn't go over the 9. You can put a 0 there if you want. It goes over this 0 here because we're taking it out of 90. So 7 times 12 then would be 84. So you subtract, you get 6. Well, that doesn't work again, so we're going to annex another 0. So 12 goes into 60 5 times. So your decimal is 0.75, 75 hundredths. Okay, so let's do a couple more of those because they can be tough. All right, I am going to do number 6 on page 93. Okay, I'm going to show you one way to do it, and I'm going to do method 1 where you try to get 10, 100, or 1,000 on the bottom. And then number 7, I'm going to do the division way. Okay, so number 1, we have 20 on the bottom. Okay, so the first thing you need to look, is 20 bigger than 10? Yes, so we can't get it to 10. But we can get 20 to 100 by multiplying it by 5. Remember, whatever you do at the bottom, you got to do the top. So your new fraction is 5 over 100. Well, that's right as 5 hundredths. So that would be written as 0.05. So that's changing the fraction to an equivalent fraction. As long as you can get 10, 100, or 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever you can get on the bottom, as long as it's part of the place value. Now, number 7, we're going to do the division way. So I'm going to do 12, because remember, it's the denominator, or the numerator divided by the denominator. Okay, so then 75 over here. All right, well, that doesn't work, so we got to add a decimal and annex a 0. Now, how many times does 75 go into 120? Well, that would be 1 time. So that'd be 75. We subtract. Oh, we can't do that, so we can't do that. So 11. So that'd be 5. And remember, the decimal has nothing to do with it until your answer. So the decimal just stays up there at the top. It goes straight to your answer. So we got to annex another 0 because that 75 wouldn't go into 45, and that would be 6 times. So 450, we subtract, we get 0. 16 hundredths, 0.16. Okay. Now, so those are the two methods. Method 1 was change it to an equivalent fraction that has a 10, 100, or 1,000. In this case, it was 100. Now, number 7, I did the division way. I don't care which way you do it. This method won't always work. This one always will. It depends on what the problem is and what the numbers are. But no matter what, this one will always work. But if you want to try this one on certain problems, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, number 8 looks a little different. Okay, this is a mixed number. All right, once again, that whole number there just goes straight to your answer. It has nothing to do with the decimal or the fraction. It just goes to your answer. So that's in front of our decimal because it's a whole number. Now, all we have to worry about now is the 21 over 40. Now, 21 over 40. Well, 40 doesn't go into 10 because it's too big. It doesn't go into 100. It might go into 1,000, or we could just divide. So I'm just going to go ahead and divide. 21 goes on the inside, 40 on the outside. Well, that doesn't work, so we got to add a decimal. Annex a 0, so that would go in there 5 times. That's 200. If we subtract, we get 10. Well, that doesn't work, so we got to add another 0. Well, 40 goes into 100 2 times. So it'd be 80. We get 20, bring down a 0. Well, that's 200. That's another 5. So your answer is 8 and 525 thousandths. So that number 40 would have gone into 1,000 if you wanted to do it that way. Okay, it does not matter. The division way will always work, no matter what. This method will always work. It just depends on whatever way you want to start with. So, I want you guys to go back now, and I want you to do E, F, and G. I don't know why this thing will not zoom in for some reason. I'm getting a bad glare too, sorry guys. Alright, so E, F, and G. So we have 3/5, 14 25ths, and 102 2/50ths. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and you guys can go ahead and start this. Alright, so now on letter E, now that you're back. Okay, so starting out, I'm going to do method number 1 where we try to get the equivalent fraction. So I'm going to try to get 10, 100, or 1,000 on the bottom on letter E. Well, does 5 go into 10? Yes. Multiplying it by 2. Well, whatever you do at the bottom, you got to do the top. So this is 6/10. Well, since that's 6/10, that's just like number 1 over here. Okay, so 6/10 would be just 0.6. And you can put a 0 in the front of the decimal. You don't have to. It's not necessary. It's just a common thing that mathematicians do. It's totally up to you. I'm not going to mark you down if you don't put a 0 in front of your decimal. You do not have to. All right. So now letter F, 14 over 25. Well, 25 is too big for 10, but does 25 go into 100? Yes, by multiplying it by 4. So then 14 times 4 is, what is that? 56 over 100. Well, since that's 56 hundredths, that's just written as 56 hundredths. And like I said, you can put a 0, you don't have to. Now, 250. That's another one. Does that go into 1,000? Yes, multiplying it by 4. So that would be 408 over 1,000. Or 408 thousandths. Okay, so that's all you have to do with these. All right, so you're just changing them from fractions to decimals and vice versa. That's the goal today. All right, so you have to just work out either method, whatever is easiest for you. Okay, so and then the homework will be the IXLs. These will be posted alongside. I do typically star them. For some reason it doesn't show up for everybody, but they are all listed on Google Classroom. And once again, remember, you have to get a score of 80 or higher to get full credit. Okay,